1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 1. So whenever you're good.
Hey everybody, I'm Benny the Comicstorian, and that is Dan T. Editor, and that is Indie Bookosaurus. Today we're going to be giving you an extended discussion about our opinions, plot holes, issues we found, Easter eggs that are involved in the movie Ant-Man.
With spoilers! So spoiler alert!
Dan's on automatic, like, spoiler robot mode. If you want to see a quick opinions and you don't want to get the spoilers, go check out our main channel, Comicstorian. Dan and I give you a very quick video in which we discuss whether or not you should see this movie. Also, if you want to see if you want to see my shirt or Dan's shirt for sale, go check out our TeePublic store. We have a couple Ant-Man designs. Peek and Flash is still there because you guys loved it so much. All right, so I'm talking way too much. Dan spoke too much in the last thing. So, Jason, why don't you kick off our discussion on this?
Yeah. So Ant-Man was pretty good, right?
Oh, super
awesome,
good.
amazing.
And you guys seem to really like it. It was just based
I
on
bought a
like
shirt because I liked it so much.
Yes, that's good. So they're in the right direction. So I thought it was pretty cool. There was definitely some so this is typical of the Marvel movies, right? Like, really cool character, really strong hero. Like, we developed this character that we can really get behind. The villain just is awful. Like, they've never had a good villain in any of these movies. Like,
Yellow Jacket wasn't bad.
He was pretty horrible.
It was
He was the most stereotypical, like, two-dimensional villain guy.
They tried to
like,
give him a little
Corey
personality,
Stoll's,
though.
he's a good actor. Right, but did he do a single thing in this movie that was smart?
No.
Like,
he was.
So
but they gave him the excuse.
So here's like a discussion point,
Yeah, but
right?
hold up. That excuse doesn't count later in the movie because he kept failing earlier on, and in theory, his head-brain chemistry getting wrong, that would require him to actually be able to shrink. They didn't actually learn how to successfully shrink until later in.
No, they said that he was messing with the particles. It was the particles themselves.
Yeah.
He just didn't know how to properly use them.
But it's not like he ever had a scene where he had a big breakthrough. He was just like consistently trying things.
Yeah.
And he's just like,
Nope.
okay, we killed a lamb, we killed a pig, and then just like randomly shows up and is like, boom, nailed it. Like, and you're just like, okay, congratulations, wasp guy. So my problem with the movie for that portion of it, like, so I guess like it's important to know, like, so we have this Yellow Jacket guy, and he's like the mentor or the mentee.
Is it mentee?
Mentee. That's not a word at all. But he's like a youngster too.
We've made up mentee.
And Hank Pym, you know, is kind of training him, and you're getting this idea like, oh, this guy's super brilliant and super smart, and so he's gonna just be like this great, like, you know, this great villain that he's gonna outsmart people and outdo things. He does none of that. Like, everything he does, like, he just straight up like gives a dude in the middle of this movie, like, or like he's like in the bathroom, he just kills him, and is like, that's the dumbest thing. Like, why would you?
No
ever
one's
do that?
ever going to question where he's gone now that he's inside this building.
He's definitely insane. That's a thing. So they got that part well done. But I think like insanity doesn't trump stupid because Hank Pym is a great character, and obviously we've talked about how well. I mean, what did you guys think of the Hank Pym character? I guess. I know. I don't know where we're going with this. So.
You can take it. No, it's fine. This is like an open discussion.
I should have written an outline before we got going. That's what I do for my podcast normally, but for this, I was just like, woo!
Well, Hank Pym, I thought they did a good job of the fact that he's clearly so smart that he's on the verge of being a good guy or a bad guy based on what he perceives the world.
Well, and that's something that's always been a character trait for Hank Pym in the comic books.
And that's why it was great, was because it really kept his character true.
Yeah.
Same with Scott Lang. They kept that he is just trying to make his way through it, saying really awkward jokes that no one laughs to except the people watching it.
Yeah.
I mean, the ending where he's making out with the girl. You should totally... she's crazy. You should keep control of her, grabbing me and kissing. You are...
No, I think the best moment was when Hope and Hank finally were connecting. And they had that moment where he's like, "This is beautiful. I ruined you, didn't I?"
Yeah, you did.
Well, and I just thought it was interesting because I like that. Well, I know that you don't read a lot. You're still new to it all. Yeah. So it's cool to hear that like that point is coming through for Hank Pym, like that he is a part mad scientist. Because one of the things you gotta remember is the whole point. Tales of Astonish, which is the original 1960 whatever book.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Like this is more of a horror story. Like this was like science gone wrong. We're shrinking down to ant size, and it's just horrible. It's horrible. I mean, you know, it's like the first time they got that part right too. Even though it's a heist movie, it's still just like you just shrunk down to this little guy and you're in a bathroom and a dude's about to wee on you. Like,
I'm so glad they didn't even show any nudity, like not even like his legs.
gosh,
They're just like pants. Assume it. Here we go.
Just like he's horrified. But what I love about that is, I mean, like Hank Pym's character is he's dealing with the monster that is his genius.
Right.
Yeah.
And they did a much better job of him working with that pathos that, like, oh man, I have to work through this problem that I can come up with these ideas and they can turn out to be bad. Versus this other guy, this villain who should be struggling with it, but because he's a new character they just made, he came out of nowhere. It was just terrible.
Right.
So that's my problem with the movie.
Well, no, the villain is not a new character. He's actually the guy from Scat Lang's origin, and he was crazy there.
Yeah,
and he didn't know what he was doing.
Oh my gosh.
He's Darren Cross. He's the pink
so
guy.
Darren Cross
It
is
is
the
all
pink guy.
connected.
I
He's
can't
the
remember
pink
the
guy.
name.
Yeah.
Oh my.
And he's kidnapping homeless people to rip their hearts out of their chest. There's no thought process to that one either.
No wonder the name sounded
Well,
familiar.
right, but in the comic, it's still like he's Looney Tunes crazy, but he's Looney Tunes crazy.
Yeah.
and he's also giant and pink. Which
And
how
not a
cool would that have been?
Yeah.
Like a
If
giant
Darren
pink
Cross
dude.
is pink the whole movie. What happened to him? Don't ask. It was a weird experiment.
So-
He turned himself
so
pink.
I don't know.
He was trying to go for blue.
I guess the point I'm trying to make, it's not that he's a new villain, it's just that they made a hybrid new villain for it. Whereas compared to someone like from Guardians of the Galaxy, Ronan was like very two-dimensional, right?
Yeah.
But
I'm evil. Now I'm good. Now I'm evil.
but it's a superb performance, and he's given great lines, and he says hilarious things like, you know, I'll accuse you, and you're just like, yeah. And you get excited because it's a great performance, and I don't think the actor didn't carry that performance as well. And I think maybe it's a lack of what he had to work with. So I don't know. That was like my great failing of this movie. Otherwise, like I love how the movie is a sequel to it seems like it's a sequel to a really good movie that we haven't seen yet.
Right.
and you know what? You're right, because the way it opens up with Hank Pym, and we get to see stuff happen with Wasp, stuff happened with Hank Pym, stuff happened with the early Stark, and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is gonna be an awesome movie. And they're like, 20 years later, what happened to that movie?
Well, and I just like first off, the Michael Douglas CGI thing is probably one of the greatest things. Like, it's improved so much.
Oh yeah, no, it looked really good.
Like, you're like, I want to watch a whole movie of this Michael Douglas doing stuff. I don't want to see
the real one. I want to see the young CGI Michael Douglas.
But it's just so cool because it's like it's him, and then of course you have these two other characters who are, you know, they're aged up.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, man, this is hilarious. Like, they do the CGI thing for him, but these other two, they're just aging him up. They could just CGI everything. If they wanted
The
to.
whole movie has nothing with CGI.
Yeah.
I don't know. DC's going that route. They're doing like an animated show. They're like, we can't do proper CGI for some of this stuff, so we're gonna animate a lot of that crap.
But yeah, I mean, I love how it just injects you into the Marvel world, and then it just like jumps to, and then of course, and then it says 1989, and then you're just like, well, that wasn't that long ago, and then you're like, oh god, I'm old. But so it's really cool that, you know, that they're starting to kind of ground things, and it doesn't, like, I think you said it before, it's a Marvel movie, but it's not. There's actually more Marvel references in this movie than there were.
Oh my gosh, yeah. This is the first one that I can remember that had like a full crossover.
Yeah.
With Falcon showing up and actually being a part of it. Which, for the record, the fact that his suit kind of had a little bit of Captain America in it, I thought that was a little
They had the color scheme was a little more reddish.
It was a lot more. Yeah, it was a lot more.
We're not all the way there, but he's definitely sitting in his home bunk back in the Avengers base, and he's like, man, he's my hero with a marker. He's like, I'm gonna put some red and with some blue.
So that's what I was getting ready to say is how cool was that scene?
Oh,
like
man.
that's a huge spoiler alert if you haven't seen the movie. So whatever. Like, this movie features this is like 2 C-level comic book fighters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, these are 2 C-level characters actually
fighting
in a movie, and you're just supposed to be like, this is happening, and we know who these people are.
Well, the best part about that is they handled it like most comic book team-ups end up. There's a big misunderstanding. They all get a fight. They're both cracking jokes the whole way.
Yeah.
Falcon's like, call it in, do this, and you know, Ant-Man's like, I'm sorry, you seem like a nice guy.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's everything that you would get out of a comic book. That's the reason why we get comics, and it's the reason why. And we've talked about this before. As someone who has a channel that does stuff, the stuff that does the best.
Who has a channel that does stuff?
The stuff that does the best are the books that are there's a hero fighting a hero.
Yeah,
Civil
no,
War
yeah.
is by far like the most popular story of all time.
If we make any video
Like,
that's like such and such versus such and such, it'll do better than any other video.
And so this movie just totally set up the seeds
I think
for
we need
Civil
to
War.
find a bunch of versus videos to put up.
And this movie just set up the seeds for Civil War.
Oh no, it definitely
Because-
did, especially with the post credits. But I want to talk about that in a minute about the stuff
Yeah,
like
but
that.
I mean, but even just that fight scene alone, it's like, okay, so Hank Pym doesn't like Tony Stark. He doesn't want this technology going into him. And of course, we know that. So like, it's all setting up just in that fight scene alone. But also, you're just getting the teaser of like, this is what it's gonna be like.
This is what
superheroes
superheroes
are
fighting.
fighting each other, and you're just like, yes, this is gonna be great. That guy gets big and small.
And the other guy can fly.
The
and
other
he's
guy
got
flies
guns.
and has goggles. So
The one thing I did want to say about that was it was clearly a I don't know how to say it, beforehand thing of the fight with Yellow Jacket, of the whole he's going into the wings, kind of destroys the mechanisms
I didn't
in
even
there.
think of it. Yeah, it's a
'Cause
foreshadowing.
that's the thank you, foreshadow.
Yeah.
So essentially they do that to foreshadow the fact that he learned, oh, he's using this machine to power himself, I need to deactivate it. So my first problem with that was, okay, why does Falcon have something that's so easily for someone to go inside?
Well,
compared to
how
Yellow
often
Jacket?
do you think Falcon fights people that can shrink down to the size of
I'm
an ant?
still just saying.
well,
I
zero
feel like.
up to that point. He never
Well,
fought
I'm just
anybody.
saying that in theory you would say you would build it as high tech as possible. He's a bloody superhero.
Right.
I mean, let's be honest here. But so saying that, when it does go to the titanium, when he's going small to get inside, this was my big problem. So in theory, he has to go subatomic to go through the titanium atoms, correct?
So wait. So just because you jump,
We're talking about the end of the
we're
Okay,
going to
so
the end of the
hold on.
movie with Yellow Jacket fight against them. So
Yeah.
I want to say one last thing about the Falcon thing real fast, because just to go with what you were saying.
Okay.
Because you're like,
We're with you.
why would Falcon have that suit? And in all honesty, you're right, because while Falcon's suit didn't protect against people that could turn into ants, he did have goggles that can follow people that turn into ants.
Exactly.
And also, I guess I don't know if I guess this is a thing to question. Did Tony Stark design this suit, or is it still the suit that was designed by S.H.I.E.L.D.? And if so, it does like S.H.I.E.L.D. would have a better understanding of like, oh, S.H.I.E.L.D. would know that there's people that turn really small because of the whole mystery of Hank Pym
Right.
from the years of before.
Exactly.
Whereas
yeah.
like Tony Stark has no idea that technology exists.
True.
Tony Stark would have a contingency for everything because Tony Stark is. I mean,
Tony Stark.
as we know, he's
like Batman with the contingency
He
plans.
doesn't sleep, and he just drinks coffee and alcohol and works in his workshop and
He gave up
invents
the
stuff.
alcohol until
What a
Superior.
life. What a
Okay,
life.
so just to keep us, so we're not sitting here for 20 minutes or whatever. I wanted to go what you were saying. So I mean, we've discussed.
Well, I want to say it.
Oh, I was gonna ask you about that in a second. Just hold on. I'm trying to lead this on. So yeah. So basically, I mean, we discussed the villain problems. We discussed Yellow Jacket. We discussed the shrinking of the Falcon. But Dan has a really good point, like a plot hole that doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
So
So Ant-Man, his suit makes him go extremely small, extremely
well,
fast.
hold on. For Yellow Jacket, this is for the ending with Yellow Jacket when he defeats Yellow Jacket. It's how he does it. So.
Okay, so essentially Ant-Man, I know, but I'm kind
Yeah.
of doing the build-up.
Okay,
So
fine, sorry.
Ant-Man can go from big to small extremely fast.
Yeah.
The titanium, he has to go extremely small. Hold on. Should we warn them of spoilers?
They better know that there's spoilers.
No, I meant the customers.
Well, now we gotta skip.
We're
this
still
thread.
in the store right now. But so essentially, he goes small extremely fast. He has to go subatomic to go through the titanium. So here's the flaw in it. He has to go subatomic extremely fast to go through the titanium, which caused him to deactivate his regulator. So how does he go small enough to go through the titanium, big enough to break all the wires, stay big enough to break all those wires,
Right.
then go back into subatomic where he clearly is going extremely small, extremely fast to the point that you're like, okay, how did he go boom, boom, boom with a broken regulator?
So maybe the regulator works to a certain extent after he kind of like fiddles with it, and my hand down here doing this is probably isn't a good sight.
Well, see, okay, here's the flaw in that, is the fact of Wasp. Earlier on, she did, like, they're both on the nuclear missile, for the record. They have this prior that Wasp goes subatomic and can't come back out. That's how
There's some foreshadowing.
exactly.
Yeah,
that's how
they talked about it
Scott
twice.
Lang learns that he can do this.
Well, yeah.
But so when she does it, she clearly breaks it, goes through, somehow does the same thing Scott Lang does of say the proper size to deactivate the bomb, but then is stuck in the subatomic. Which, of course, they clear up how he gets out during the movie. That part I'll leave without the spoiler because it's not needed. But
Well, at this point, if you've been watching this whole video, I'm assuming you've seen the movie.
You're right.
I didn't like the way he became big again. I didn't like that. I didn't think it made much sense.
I thought it did a great job of the fact that they utilized the fact that he had been using the one that shrunk things. Like, he had been using that shrinker disc multiple times in the movie. He hadn't used the expanding disc that often.
Well, he used it on the ant and the train.
Well, the
train engine.
Yeah.
Thomas the train engine.
Thomas the tank engine.
Whatever.
Come on.
It's a tank train? It's a train. It's a tank. There's
Tank
tankers in
engine.
there.
I know, but he's
Tank
Thomas.
I mean,
the
I
tank.
guess
whatever.
it makes sense. My question about that, though, was, is he, like, opens up the belt, rips out whatever's in there, and then just shoves this other thing into it, attaches the regulator so it works with the regulator, and there's like, click.
Well, see, that's the thing is they did a foreshadowing on that as well, where they have him tinkering with the regulator. Clearly, he understood the way the mechanics worked on that enough. And for the record, he is an electrical engineer, so he does understand this kind of stuff. He was clearly fiddling with that suit multiple times, so he understands how the suit works. So that's why that made sense to me, because clearly he had messed with it prior. He understands how that regulator works, since he was going to try and mess with it.
Yeah.
And so he was like, okay, in theory this could work, and science is all about theories, so he tries it out, and it works.
But why didn't he just grow until he was Giant Man?
Because
that would have been really cool too. That's what I was kind of hoping they were going to go with.
It would have been cool, but the reason why, if you notice, whenever he used that disc on other objects, it grew him to a certain size. That was it.
Yeah.
It just grew him. That was it. Now that he's put it in in the spot of where the regulator was attached to the mechanism that controls that. That's how he gets big enough to that size that he's able to actually control it still.
I mean, you understand they're saving Giant Man for Civil War.
Oh, yeah,
He's going to get super big, and then they're all going to have to fight him, and I'm just going to be screaming.
That will be awesome.
At the end of the day, like, I understand, like, it doesn't make any sense. It never makes any sense. Like, the whole... This is a movie about being turned... I mean, they talk about moving into a subatomical particle world where there's really neat art. You know, that's what
it's a kaleidoscope world.
Here's what I'll say. Like, it's not Interstellar, and it did a better job of being interstellar and interesting than Interstellar. Like, Interstellar is actually trying to explain, like, this is what it's like in the fifth dimension. Like I was sitting there literally going like, oh, he's in the fifth dimension. This is kind of trippy, like it was in Interstellar. I wonder if he's going to send a message back in time to tell Hank Pym how to change the suit so we can have the suit invented. I mean,
maybe that was in the original script, and then Interstellar came out, and they're like, oh, crap.
This is the comedy movie where you have the guy, telling a story, and it's mouthing other people's drunk history stuff.
Oh, my God.
It's that movie.
Yeah.
So... I don't think, we could be really critical, and I mean, there's a whole bunch of other plot gaps, too. I mean, they literally go from, like, a building to a helicopter, and then magically they're in this person's house.
Right.
Funniest thing ever, though.
It's clearly a very small city that is very big in the air.
It's San Francisco, or...
San Francisco, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. So, the point is, it's a fun movie. Yeah. And they did a great job of... This is what they needed to do. All they needed to do was this. Ant-Man is a character. His name is Scott Lang. He has a daughter. He has a troubled past. He has a suit. He's way, way, way out of his element.
Yep.
You have a character set up for the next 10 movies of your life. Yeah. And we can make a reference to this movie 30 movies from now and go, well, when did he show up? Well, he showed up here. Right. And then you watch it, it's like, oh, you fought Falcon in that movie? That was awesome.
Like, what were you going to say, Dan, before we close up?
I was going to say they did a great job with the family, I thought.
Oh, yeah, no.
Because, I mean, you loved Cassie, you hated the stepdad, you were like, okay, Mom, why are you being such a
Well, even the stepdad in the end, you're like, okay, he's an okay guy.
Yeah,
he's
really
looking out.
The stepmom, I felt, the mom was definitely, not stepmom, but the mom, I thought she was very flat. The comic, they do a much, much better job of her these days being a little bit more of like the foil to Scott.
Yeah.
Like it's like, listen, like I see you're getting your act together, but no, like you are still screwing. Little girl Cassie is fine. Do I want teenage Cassie? Because I want to see Stature. Right. Yeah, but we're getting the rebooted Stature, I think, in the comics now too.
Yeah,
she's not Stature now.
They've referenced what happened to her, but they are kind of like, yeah, it happened, it's gone. You know.
So hopefully they'll bring that back. But otherwise, I miss Anthony the ant.
Oh, that was
Anthony. No.
I love the fact that.
And they made such a sad moment about it too, like
with the feather, with the wing.
And I think the movie overall, it was very successful, very good. I don't know if enough people... This isn't Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, it's not.
But it's still a cool flick.
Yeah. What
I'm
are your
sorry.
closing thoughts?
I was
as we
going to
wrap
say
up here?
before we end, did we want to talk about the after credits, or is that?
No,
completely
we'll
different?
do that something else. We're already running late. He's got people in here.
Okay,
Already.
after credits stuff somewhere later.
Oh, we'll do it again. Well, maybe this will be a weekly thing. As a matter of fact, that's what I wanted to say, guys. If you want to see us weekly sit around chatting about Marvel movies and stuff like that, or maybe bi-weekly, we can do it, but we have to time it better because a whole bunch of people are trying to come in here and do stuff. We are in an active store, but if you want to, let us know in the comments down below. This is kind of like a test platform to see if you want myself, Dan, and Jason sitting here talking about Marvel movies, Marvel comics, and that kind of a thing. Like an additional podcast kind of a thing.
Open this well.
You can also follow us on Twitter at Comicstorian and Instagram at Comicstorian, where you can let us know your opinions about this show. On top of that, I think that we're going to close it out right here. It's not intended to be like a 3-hour thing. It's supposed to be our little quick thoughts. My end thoughts are I loved the movie. I thought it was incredible, and I'm tossed in between liking this one or Guardians of the Galaxy more. I don't know which one I like more. I like Guardians of the Galaxy because I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but Ant-Man is an incredible heist movie. You definitely should check it out. And overall, I enjoyed it. I know I didn't get to say very much this time. These two, they're a treasure trove of stuff, and you have tons of stuff where you can listen to me talk. So I'm not sitting here fighting for time with them.
Treasure trove of beer.
Thank you guys for joining us today. And if you, like I said, if you want to see more, check out the comments down below. I will talk to you all later. Everyone, give a goodbye.
Goodbye.
Sayonara.
Oh, and don't forget, go to our TeePublic store. Get my shirt, get Dan's shirt. You can't get Jason's shirt. It's a one-of-a-kind Jason original.
It has a hole.
We'll see you guys next time. Thanks again.
You really like to stretch out those endings, huh?